The year was 1810, and the port of London bustled with activity. Ships lined the docks, their sails fluttering in the wind, and sailors shouted orders as they unloaded cargo or prepared for new journeys. Among the crowd of merchants, captains, and dock workers, the Eleanor Grace stood out. It was a large merchant ship, painted deep blue with polished wooden decks that gleamed in the morning sun. Its captain, Thomas Harding, a man in his 40s with a calm demeanor and piercing gray eyes, walked along the deck inspecting the preparations. He had commanded ships for over 15 years, and he carried the reputation of being cautious but fair. This voyage was different. The Eleanor Grace was to sail to the Caribbean, carrying a precious cargo of spices, textiles, and rare artifacts from England. The crew of 40 men had been carefully selected, some experienced sailors, others apprentices learning the trade. Among them was young Samuel Pierce, barely 16, who had begged his parents to let him join this journey. He was small for his age, but full of determination and curiosity. As the crew worked, the dock buzzed with activity. Merchants shouted their final instructions to the sailors, while families bid their loved ones goodbye. Captain Harding walked among the crew, checking ropes, sails, and the cargo. His eyes lingered on the horizon, where the sky met the river, as if he could sense the challenges that lay ahead. The ship set sail on a calm morning. The city slowly faded from view as the Eleanor Grace moved steadily along the Thames River and out into the open sea. For the first few days, the journey was smooth. The wind was favorable and the crew worked in harmony. They sang songs to pass the time, mended sails, and checked the cargo. Samuel quickly adapted to the ship's rhythm, learning to tie knots, climb masts, and navigate the waters. He found himself fascinated by the life on board and the stories the older sailors shared about distant lands and the mysteries of the sea. On the 5th day, as the ship sailed past the English Channel, the weather began to change. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, and the wind picked up. Captain Harding ordered the crew to secure the sails and prepare for rough waters. The ship rocked with the growing waves, and Samuel held on tightly as the deck tilted beneath him. Yet, despite the increasing storm, the Eleanor Grace held steady, its sturdy hull cutting through the waves with determination. Then, as night fell, a strange phenomenon occurred. A bright light appeared on the horizon, unlike any lightning or natural glow the sailors had ever seen. It was a pale, shimmering light that seemed to hover above the water, moving with a strange, deliberate rhythm. The crew watched in awe and fear, unsure of what it could be. Captain Harding, his face serious but composed, ordered the men to keep the ship steady and not to approach the light. Samuel could not take his eyes off it. He felt a mixture of fear and excitement, as if the light were calling to him. The wind suddenly stopped, and the waves grew calm, an unnatural stillness settling over the sea. The ship floated silently, surrounded by the glow. Time seemed to stretch, and the crew whispered among themselves, uneasy with the sudden silence. The next morning, when the sun rose, the Eleanor Grace was gone. It vanished without a trace. No wreckage, no survivors, not even a single sign of struggle. Ships passing nearby reported nothing unusual, and sailors began to spread stories of a ghost ship that had been swallowed by the sea. Families mourned the lost crew, and Captain Harding became a legend, a man who had sailed into the unknown. For years the story faded into myth, told in taverns and quiet conversations, until it became part of maritime folklore. More than 2 centuries later, the world had changed. Cities were taller, ships were faster, and technology allowed humans to explore places that were once unreachable. Yet some mysteries remained unsolved, and the disappearance of the Eleanor Grace was one of them. It was on a bright morning in November that the first unusual signals appeared on satellite images. Scientists monitoring the Bermuda Triangle noticed a large object drifting in the open sea. At first, it was assumed to be a sunken ship, but closer inspection revealed it was a vessel unlike any modern wreck. Its wooden hull was intact, the sails folded neatly, and there were no signs of decay. News of the discovery spread quickly. Governments, historians, and curious civilians were captivated. The idea that a ship from 1810 could return untouched after more than 200 years seemed impossible, yet the evidence was undeniable. Dr. Maya Carter, a renowned historian specializing in maritime mysteries, was contacted by an international research team. She was known for her work on ancient shipwrecks and her ability to piece together stories from fragments of history. As she prepared for the expedition, she felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. This was unlike anything she had ever studied. The Eleanor Grace was not just a ship. It was a puzzle waiting to be solved. When Dr. Carter arrived at the research vessel, she met the crew and scientists who would join the journey. There was Captain Elias Monroe, a seasoned sailor who had commanded research expeditions across the globe. Dr. Leo Wang, a physicist specializing in energy anomalies, and several marine archaeologists eager to explore the ship firsthand. Samuel Pierce's story had long ago faded into history, but now Dr. Carter hoped to uncover what had happened to him and the other crew members. As the research vessel approached the coordinates, the Eleanor Grace came into view. It floated gracefully on the calm sea, almost as if it had been waiting for them. The wooden deck glimmered in the sunlight, ropes were coiled neatly, and even the sails appeared freshly mended. The team was astonished. No modern ship could survive centuries in such perfect condition. Dr. Carter stepped onto the deck, her eyes scanning the ship. Everything was exactly as it would have been in 1810. The captain's cabin was untouched, the cargo hold intact, and personal belongings lay where they had been left. She ran her fingers over a polished railing, feeling the weight of history beneath her touch. Samuel's journal, once thought lost, rested on a table, its pages preserved perfectly. The crew began their inspection carefully. Instruments detected a faint energy field surrounding the ship, something that could not be explained by natural phenomena. Dr. Wang examined it with his sensors, noting that it seemed to respond to the presence of the researchers. The ship was alive in a way that defied logic, a relic from the past existing simultaneously in the present. As they explored, small details captured their attention. A cup of tea sat on a table, as if the sailor who made it had only stepped away for a moment. A pair of boots were neatly placed by the door, polished and unused. The crew whispered among themselves, sharing uneasy glances. They felt that the ship was more than wood and sails. It carried the essence of the people who had once lived on it. Dr. Carter found the captain's log in a drawer, its pages yellowed but intact. As she read, her excitement grew. The entries described the journey, the crew, and the sudden appearance of the strange light at sea. The last entry was incomplete, ending mid-sentence. "We are surrounded by a glow that is not of this world. The men are—" Her hands trembled as she realized that history had been waiting to speak to them. The mystery of the Eleanor Grace was not only about the past. It was a story that reached across time, connecting 2 centuries in a single moment. Night fell, and the ship's glow became faint but noticeable. Some crew members reported hearing whispers, the sound of footsteps where no one walked. Shadows seemed to move across the deck, vanishing when approached. Dr. Carter felt a chill but remained determined. She knew that the key to understanding this anomaly lay in careful observation and patience. As the first day aboard the Eleanor Grace ended, the researchers gathered to discuss their findings. Captain Monroe spoke cautiously, warning against hasty exploration. Dr. Wang theorized about the energy field, suggesting that the ship might have been preserved in a temporal bubble, untouched by time or decay. Dr. Carter listened, realizing that they were not just studying a ship, They were witnessing a phenomenon that could change humanity's understanding of history, time, and the universe itself. Samuel Pierce, the young boy who had sailed 2 centuries ago, became more than a historical figure. He was part of a story that had survived, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. The Eleanor Grace was not lost. It had been waiting for someone to understand it, someone to carry its story into the future. The team settled in for the night, the ship gently rocking under the stars. Dr. Carter looked out over the calm sea, thinking of the men who had vanished 200 years ago. She felt their presence in the silence, a quiet connection across time. Tomorrow she would begin the full exploration of the ship, uncovering its secrets piece by piece. The Eleanor Grace had returned, untouched, waiting, and its story was only beginning. The morning sun rose over the calm sea, its light reflecting off the polished wooden decks of the Eleanor Grace. The researchers awoke with a mixture of excitement and unease. Last night had been strange. Faint whispers echoed in the corridors. Shadows moved without cause, and the faint glow around the ship seemed to pulse gently, almost as if it were alive. Dr. Maya Carter felt it in her chest, a subtle vibration, a presence that belonged to neither the past nor the present. Captain Monroe gathered the team on the main deck, the horizon calm and quiet. "We need a plan before we explore further," he said. His voice was firm, yet there was an underlying tension in his tone. "We don't know what we are dealing with. This ship, its return is not natural. We proceed carefully, or we risk damaging something we do not understand." Dr. Leo Wang adjusted his instruments, scanning the surrounding air for anomalies. "The energy field around the ship is stable but unusual," he explained. "It seems to interact with our thoughts, our presence. I cannot explain it with current science, but I have never seen anything like this. It's as if the ship has a memory, or a will of its own." The team nodded in cautious agreement. Dr. Carter stepped forward. "We are historians and scientists," she said. "Our goal is to understand, not to interfere recklessly. If we remain observant and careful, perhaps the ship will reveal its story to us." With a shared determination, the researchers began their exploration. The main deck was immaculate, the ropes and sails folded precisely as if prepared for a long voyage. The cabins were untouched, each personal belonging in place. Dr. Carter carefully opened the cabin of Captain Thomas Harding, her eyes scanning the polished desk, the neatly stacked papers, and the small chest of personal items. A quill rested beside the captain's log, as though he had set it down only moments ago. In the cargo hold, crates were stacked neatly, containing spices, textiles, and rare artifacts that had been intended for the Caribbean. Dr. Carter ran her fingers over the labels, amazed at their preservation. Nothing had decayed. Even the wooden crates emitted a faint scent, the smell of the past mingling with the salty air. As the team moved through the ship, they began to notice subtle anomalies. Shadows seemed slightly distorted, corners of the rooms appearing to bend or shimmer when observed out of the corner of the eye. Occasionally, a whisper would pass through the corridors, carrying words too faint to decipher. Some crew members claimed to see glimpses of figures in period clothing, standing silently at the edge of vision, only to vanish when approached. Samuel Pierce's small journal rested in the cabin of the first mate, its pages perfectly preserved. Dr. Carter carefully opened it, reading the boy's excitement and wonder at life on board. His words described the ship, the crew, and the sudden appearance of the strange light before their disappearance. There was a mixture of fear and awe in every line. "The light is not from the sun," Samuel wrote. "It moves with the wind, yet does not touch the water. I feel it calling us, but I do not know why. Captain Harding says we must wait, but my heart races. I think we are about to see something no one else has ever seen." Dr. Carter paused, feeling a connection to Samuel across centuries. The boy had been the youngest on the ship, full of curiosity and hope. Now, she and her team were experiencing that same sense of wonder, standing on the very deck he had walked on 200 years ago. Dr. Wang's instruments beeped suddenly, drawing everyone's attention. "The energy field is fluctuating," he said. "It seems to respond to our thoughts and actions. It's stronger near the captain's cabin and weaker near the bow. The ship, it's alive in a sense, but not in the way we understand life." Captain Monroe frowned. "Are you saying it has a consciousness?" he asked. "I don't know," Dr. Wang admitted, "but it reacts. It senses. It may be aware of us." Dr. Carter considered this. The ship had returned not by accident. 2 centuries had passed, yet it had arrived intact, almost purposefully. Perhaps it had been waiting for someone who could understand it, someone who could connect the past with the present. The researchers decided to spend the day exploring systematically. They split into small groups, each assigned to a section of the ship. Dr. Carter, accompanied by 2 archaeologists, descended into the lower cabins. The air was cool and still, carrying the faint scent of polished wood. As they moved through the rooms, they found personal items, shoes neatly placed by the door, a folded coat, a small locket with a portrait inside. Every detail had been preserved, as if the crew had stepped away for only a moment. Suddenly, a faint hum filled the room, soft but noticeable. The researchers froze. Dr. Carter whispered, "Do you hear that?" The hum grew slightly louder, and a pale light began to emanate from the walls. The air felt charged, and a subtle vibration ran through the floor. Dr. Wang entered the cabin, instruments in hand, eyes wide. "It's responding," he said. "The field is amplifying. Whatever energy this is, it is aware of us." Dr. Carter felt a strange sensation, as if the walls themselves were breathing, alive with memory. The ship was not just a vessel, it was a vessel of time, preserving not only objects but experiences, emotions, and the presence of those who had sailed on it. As the day wore on, the researchers began to experience visions. Dr. Carter was the first to see them clearly. In the corner of her eye, she noticed the faint outline of a young boy climbing the mast. He looked at her with wide eyes and a smile, then vanished as she turned. Moments later, a group of sailors appeared on the deck, moving in patterns that seemed natural, yet ghostly. They spoke to each other, unaware of the present world. Dr. Carter described what she had seen to Captain Monroe and Dr. Wang. "They are the crew," she said. "The ship is showing us fragments of their lives, frozen moments from 2 centuries ago." The team observed carefully, documenting the visions. Some were brief, a sailor tying a rope, a boy reading a journal. Others lasted longer, showing the crew reacting to the strange light that had appeared in 1810. Captain Harding and his officers were seen in the captain's cabin, consulting charts and instruments, trying to understand the anomaly that would later vanish them from history. Samuel Pierce appeared again, his small hands clutching the edge of the deck as he looked over the railing at the strange light in the distance. His face reflected both fear and wonder. Dr. Carter felt a lump in her throat. The boy had endured so much, yet his spirit seemed alive in the ship, carried forward across time. By evening, the researchers gathered on the main deck, sharing their observations. Captain Monroe spoke carefully. "This ship is not just a historical artifact," he said. "It is a living memory. We cannot interfere recklessly. We need to observe, document, and respect what we are seeing." Dr. Wang nodded. "I have never encountered anything like this. The energy field is stable but intelligent. It seems to protect the ship and its history. Any attempt to control it could be dangerous." Dr. Carter looked out at the calm sea, the sun dipping below the horizon. The glow around the ship had grown faint, pulsing like a heartbeat. "It wants us to understand," she said quietly. "It has returned to tell its story. We must listen carefully." That night, the ship seemed to settle into a gentle rhythm, almost as if it were breathing. Shadows danced across the decks, faint voices whispered, and the faint hum of the energy field resonated through the hull. The researchers slept in shifts, keeping watch, knowing that the ship itself was alive in ways they could not yet comprehend. During the quiet hours, Dr. Carter wandered alone through the captain's quarters. She opened the captain's log again, reading the words that had been written just before the ship vanished. Captain Harding had described the strange light, the sudden calm, and the feeling that time itself had paused. "We are surrounded by a force beyond understanding," he had written. "It moves with intention. I fear we are being drawn into something, beyond the sea, beyond the world we know. Yet I cannot resist curiosity. We must endure, observe, and survive, if we can." Dr. Carter traced her fingers over the faded ink. The captain's fear, courage, and determination were palpable. She realized that the Eleanor Grace had returned not just as a ship, but as a message, a bridge between two worlds, 2 centuries, and 2 groups of people connected by time. As dawn broke, the ship continued its silent vigil on the sea. The glow around it remained faint but steady, and the whispers faded into a calm hum. The researchers gathered once more, ready to continue their exploration. They understood that the ship was more than an artifact. It was a living witness to history, carrying the presence of the crew and the mysterious force that had preserved them. Dr. Carter felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. The Eleanor Grace had returned untouched, and it had chosen them as its observers. The story of the ship, the crew, and the strange light was not yet complete. Each vision, each artifact, each whisper from the past was a piece of a puzzle that stretched across centuries. The team prepared to delve deeper into the mysteries of the ship. They would explore the lower decks, the cargo hold, and the hidden spaces where secrets might be kept. They would continue to document the energy field, the visions, and the anomalies. Most importantly, they would honor the memory of those who had sailed the Eleanor Grace, ensuring that history, mystery, and human curiosity were preserved together. The ship floated silently, as if waiting, the past and present intertwined on its decks, forming a living tapestry of time, courage, and discovery. Dr. Carter knew that the day ahead would bring new revelations, visions more vivid than before, and perhaps answers to questions that had remained unanswered for more than 2 centuries. The Eleanor Grace had returned. It was not simply a ship, it was a witness, it was a teacher, and it was waiting for humanity to understand its message. The day dawned over the open sea with a soft, golden light. The Eleanor Grace glimmered like a jewel on the calm waters, untouched by time, yet carrying the weight of 2 centuries. The researchers had spent the previous day observing, documenting, and trying to understand the strange phenomena surrounding the ship. They had seen glimpses of the crew, fleeting visions of life in 1810, and felt the subtle energy that pulsed through the ship. Today, they hoped to uncover more. Dr. Maya Carter stood at the bow, the wind lightly tugging at her hair. The faint hum of the ship's energy resonated through her body. She closed her eyes, sensing a connection with the past. The whispers from last night were gone, replaced by a calm silence. Yet she felt that the ship was aware of them, watching, waiting, responding. Captain Monroe called the team together. "We need to proceed carefully," he said. "Yesterday we observed the ship, but today we explore with purpose. Our goal is to understand what preserved this ship, why it returned, and if there is a message for us." Dr. Wang checked his instruments one last time before they split into groups. "The energy field is stronger near the central deck and the captain's quarters. It seems concentrated in areas of significance, where leadership and decisions were made, where the crew spent their time. I believe the ship is guiding us to what is important. The team moved forward with a mix of curiosity and caution. Dr. Serene Carter and two archaeologists descended into the lower decks. The air was cool and still, and the faint glow of the ship's energy lit their path. The cabins were immaculate, personal belongings perfectly preserved, and the faint scent of polished wood lingered in the air. It was as though time itself had paused here, leaving everything untouched. Suddenly, a faint light appeared at the end of the corridor. Dr. Carter motioned for the others to follow quietly. The glow grew stronger as they approached a small room, a storage space for journals and maps. On a wooden table lay the captain's log and several letters tied with ribbon. The moment Dr. Carter touched the captain's log, a wave of images and emotions washed over her. She saw the crew in 1810 preparing for the voyage. She felt the excitement of the sailors, the boyish wonder of Samuel Pierce, and the careful determination of Captain Harding. The ship was alive in her vision, moving through the seas, responding to wind and water, yet protected from harm by something unseen. Dr. Carter gasped, stepping back as the vision ended, leaving her trembling with awe. The team regrouped on the main deck to share their experiences. Dr. Wang adjusted his instruments nervously. "The energy field is responding to emotional intensity," he said. "Touching the captain's log, interacting with the past, amplifies the field. The ship, it is aware. I am beginning to believe it has intelligence." Samuel's journal was next. Dr. Carter opened it carefully, reading the young boy's words aloud. They described the strange light that appeared in 1810, the sudden calm in the sea, and the crew's mixture of fear and curiosity. The boy wrote of a glow that moved with intention, a force that was neither storm nor sunlight, and a feeling of being drawn into something beyond comprehension. As she read, the ship seemed to respond. The hum grew louder, the glow pulsed slightly. Captain Monroe spoke quietly, almost to himself. "This ship is not just a vessel of wood and sails. It is a vessel of experience, of memory, of consciousness. It is guiding us, communicating in ways we can barely understand." The day progressed with more visions. Some crew members saw fleeting images of sailors performing daily tasks, tying ropes, checking cargo, reading maps. Others saw the strange light that had appeared in 1810, hovering above the waves, calm yet intense. The visions were vivid and detailed, as though the past and present were overlapping for brief moments. Dr. Carter noticed that Samuel Pierce appeared frequently, his small figure moving around the deck, curious and alert. She began to understand that the boy represented more than a single observer. He was a symbol of the ship's connection to human curiosity and courage. Through him, the ship was teaching them, showing them the world as it had been before it vanished. In the captain's cabin, Dr. Carter experienced the most intense vision. She saw Captain Harding standing at the desk, writing in the log. His eyes were filled with determination and concern. The glow of the strange light bathed the room. Harding spoke, his words echoing in Dr. Carter's mind. "We have encountered a force beyond comprehension. It is not hostile, yet we cannot control it. We are drawn into it. Yet we endure. If this message survives, let it guide those who come after." The vision ended, leaving Dr. Carter breathless. She realized that the ship had not simply returned. It had returned with a purpose. It carried knowledge, warning, and guidance. The energy that preserved it was intelligent, protective, and deliberate. The Eleanor Grace was a bridge between centuries, a teacher and a guardian of history. Dr. Wang approached, excitement and concern in his eyes. "I've measured fluctuations in the field," he said. "The ship is stronger than any anomaly we have seen. It reacts to thought, presence, and emotion. It may allow visions because it wants to communicate. But I caution, interfering could destabilize it." The researchers continued their exploration cautiously. In the cargo hold, the crates remained perfectly stacked, yet some of the goods seemed slightly different. Spices emitted faint aromas as if freshly stored. Textiles looked new, and artifacts glimmered with an inner light. The preservation was miraculous, defying all scientific understanding. Samuel's journal described the crew witnessing the light for the first time, the fear in their hearts, and the awe that overtook them. "We feel calm, yet unafraid," he had written. "The light moves with purpose. I believe it knows us. I do not understand it, but I feel that it waits for something, perhaps for someone to witness, to learn, to remember." The team felt the same way. The ship was waiting for them, guiding them through visions, artifacts, and subtle interactions. It was revealing itself in stages, allowing them to connect with the past, yet leaving room for discovery. In the late afternoon, the ship seemed to respond more actively. The sails, folded neatly in the morning, began to rise without wind. The ropes tightened themselves, and the ship tilted slightly, moving as if guided by invisible hands. The crew watched in awe, realizing that the ship was moving deliberately, not under the influence of nature or human action. Dr. Carter felt a strange warmth in her chest. The ship's movements were deliberate, intelligent, almost benevolent. It was not dangerous, but it was aware of them and their presence. She began to speak softly, imagining that the ship could hear her thoughts. "We see you," she whispered. "We understand. Teach us." At that moment, the vision intensified. Dr. Carter saw the entire crew of 1810, their faces full of wonder and fear. They were surrounded by the strange light, which moved around them like a protective shield. She felt their emotions, curiosity, courage, and determination, flowing into her mind. It was overwhelming, yet uplifting. Captain Monroe, observing silently, said, "This is extraordinary. We are witnessing history alive, preserved, and interactive. It is unlike anything humanity has ever encountered." As night fell, the glow around the ship pulsed gently, illuminating the decks. The whispers returned, but now they were clear. Soft voices of the crew, thanking the researchers for seeing them, acknowledging their curiosity and respect. The energy field seemed to resonate with emotion, responding to gratitude, awe, and careful observation. Dr. Carter and the team settled on the main deck, reflecting on the day's experiences. The ship had revealed fragments of the past, allowed glimpses of its preserved crew, and demonstrated its intelligence. Yet the central mystery remained. Why had it returned now? What was the purpose of this extraordinary preservation? Dr. Wang suggested a theory. "Perhaps it has waited for humans capable of understanding it," he said. "For centuries, it remained hidden, untouched, until technology and knowledge allowed someone to witness it without destroying it. We may be the first to truly see it for what it is." Dr. Carter nodded. "And it is teaching us, guiding us to connect with the past. It wants us to learn, to preserve, and to share. This is more than a ship. It is a messenger." The night was calm, the stars reflecting on the gentle waves. Samuel Pierce's journal lay on the deck, illuminated by the glow. Dr. Carter read his final words aloud. "I do not know what lies ahead. The light surrounds us, and we feel it in our hearts. If anyone reads this, know that we endured, we watched, and we hoped. We trusted in what we could not understand, and we believed that someone would see, learn, and remember." The researchers understood the message. The Eleanor Grace had returned to be seen, to share its story, and to connect humanity with its own past. The ship was not a relic. It was alive with memory, consciousness, and intention. As the team prepared to rest, the ship settled into a gentle sway, almost as if it were breathing. The glow dimmed but remained present, a constant reminder that the past and present were intertwined. Dr. Carter felt a deep sense of responsibility. The ship's message was clear. Humanity had a chance to learn from history, to respect the unknown, and to preserve the memory of courage, curiosity, and resilience. The night passed quietly, and the researchers slept in shifts, keeping watch over the ship. Every so often, faint glimpses of the past appeared. A sailor tying a rope, a young boy climbing the mast. But nothing disrupted the calm. The Eleanor Grace waited patiently, allowing them to witness, learn, and prepare for the next stage of revelation. By dawn, the team gathered on the deck once more. The day ahead promised deeper exploration, more visions, and perhaps answers to questions that had remained unsolved for centuries. The ship's intelligence, its preservation, and its purpose were slowly revealing themselves, and the researchers knew that the greatest discoveries were yet to come. The Eleanor Grace was more than a ship. It was a guide, a teacher, and a bridge across time. It had returned not for fame, not for treasure, but to share its story, its knowledge, and its warnings. The team understood that they were part of something extraordinary, an opportunity to witness history alive, to connect with the past, and to carry its message into the future. The sun rose slowly over the calm horizon, casting golden light across the Eleanor Grace. The ship floated silently, its wooden decks gleaming as if freshly polished, its sails still neatly folded. The energy that surrounded the ship pulsed gently, as though acknowledging the new day. The researchers gathered on the main deck, filled with anticipation. After days of observation, exploration, and visions of the 1810 crew, they were beginning to understand the ship's purpose. Yet, the full truth remained just out of reach. Dr. Maya Carter stood at the bow, feeling the hum of the energy field beneath her feet. She closed her eyes, imagining the crew of 1810 moving about their tasks, unaware of the centuries that separated them from the present. She could feel the ship's awareness, a quiet intelligence that had guided them safely across time. The vessel was not just a ship, it was a guardian, a messenger, and now perhaps it was ready to reveal its final message. Captain Monroe addressed the team. "We must be cautious. Yesterday, the ship revealed fragments of the past, and today, it may reveal more. We are not here to control it, only to witness and learn." His voice was steady, but the faint tremor of awe betrayed the depth of his wonder. Dr. Wang adjusted his instruments, noting subtle changes in the energy field. "The readings are different this morning," he said. "The ship's intelligence, it seems more active. It responds to our thoughts, our presence, and our intentions. It may be preparing for something." The team decided to split into two groups. Dr. Carter and two archaeologists would explore the upper decks and captain's quarters, while Dr. Wang, Captain Monroe, and the remaining researchers would investigate the lower decks and cargo hold. Each group moved carefully, documenting every detail, aware that they were part of something far beyond ordinary science. As Dr. Carter entered the captain's cabin, a soft glow illuminated the room. The captain's log lay open on the desk, its pages fluttering as if moved by an invisible hand. Dr. Carter approached and touched the log. Immediately, a wave of images and emotions swept over her. She saw Captain Harding at his desk, writing with determination. She felt the fear, courage, and hope of the crew. The strange light from 1810 hovered outside the ship, calm yet powerful. The vision was vivid, almost tangible. The vision shifted. Dr. Carter saw the ship enveloped in a gentle, shimmering glow, moving through waters untouched by storms. The crew was aware of a presence, a force beyond their understanding, yet they did not resist. They trusted the ship, and in doing so, they were preserved. The Eleanor Grace had not vanished. It had been guided, protected by a power that transcended time. Dr. Carter gasped as the vision ended, leaving her breathless. She realized that the ship had returned not to be studied or exploited, but to communicate, to share knowledge, and to guide humanity. It was waiting for those who could understand, who could witness without destroying, who could learn from the past. Meanwhile, Dr. Wang's group experienced their own revelations in the lower decks. As they moved through the cargo hold, the crates and artifacts seemed to shimmer with a subtle inner light. Instruments detected fluctuations in the energy field, reacting to their presence and intentions. The researchers felt as if the ship itself was observing them, assessing their respect and curiosity. In a quiet corner of the hold, Dr. Wang noticed an old chest, one that had been unnoticed until now. The chest was locked, but there was no key, and no force seemed able to open it. The energy around it pulsed in response to their attempts. Dr. Wang realized that the chest was not meant to be opened by force. It required understanding, patience, and perhaps the right intention. Dr. Carter and her group joined the others, sharing their experiences. The ship seemed to respond to their collective understanding. The hum grew stronger, the glow more defined, and the visions of the 1810 crew became clearer. They saw Captain Harding giving orders, sailors working together, and young Samuel Pierce exploring the deck, full of curiosity and wonder. The crew moved naturally, unaware of the centuries that lay ahead, yet their presence was preserved for this very moment. As the day progressed, the Eleanor Grace began to move on its own. The sails lifted without wind, ropes tightened themselves, and the ship gently turned as though guided by an unseen hand. The researchers watched in awe. The vessel was alive, intelligent, and purposeful. It was leading them, guiding them toward understanding. Dr. Carter felt a deep connection to the ship. She whispered softly, as though speaking to the vessel itself, "We see you. We understand. Teach us." The ship responded. The energy field intensified, and the visions became vivid and interactive. The researchers witnessed entire sequences of life aboard the ship in 1810. They saw the crew preparing for storms, celebrating small victories, and facing challenges together. They felt the emotions of fear, hope, courage, and determination as though they were their own. Samuel Pierce appeared once more, climbing the mast and looking out toward the glowing horizon. He smiled at Dr. Carter, a smile full of trust and understanding. She realized that the boy represented the essence of human curiosity and courage, preserved across centuries by the ship's energy. Through him, the Eleanor Grace was teaching them, sharing the qualities that had allowed it to endure. Captain Monroe observed quietly. "This is extraordinary," he said. "We are not just witnessing history, we are experiencing it. The ship is showing us what it means to endure, to trust, and to understand forces beyond our control." The visions shifted again, revealing the strange light that had caused the ship's disappearance. The light was calm, powerful, and deliberate. It surrounded the ship, moving with intention, yet never harming the crew. The Eleanor Grace had been guided by this force, preserved in a state beyond ordinary time. The crew's survival had depended on trust, courage, and curiosity. Dr. Carter realized the ship's purpose. It had returned not to be exploited or studied, but to teach. It carried knowledge of the past, guidance for the present, and lessons for the future. Humanity had been given an opportunity to witness history alive, to connect with the courage and determination of those who had sailed centuries ago. In the late afternoon, the ship approached a small, calm bay. The glow around it pulsed gently, as though preparing to release its final message. Dr. Carter and the team gathered on the deck, ready for whatever revelation awaited them. The energy field intensified, and the voices of the 1810 crew became audible, clear, and full of gratitude. "Thank you for seeing us," they whispered. "We endured. We hoped. We trusted. Now you must carry our story." Dr. Carter felt tears in her eyes. The ship had returned to ensure that the past was not forgotten. It had preserved courage, curiosity, and hope, and it had chosen humanity to witness and remember. The final vision appeared. Captain Harding stood at the deck, looking out at the glowing horizon. He spoke, his words resonating through Dr. Carter's mind. "We were preserved not for ourselves, but for those who would come after. We trusted the unknown, and it protected us. Carry this message forward. Respect the unknown, learn from history, and endure with courage." The vision faded, leaving the researchers in awe. The ship settled gently in the calm bay, sails folded, decks polished, and the glow around it softening. The Eleanor Grace had completed its mission. It had returned to communicate, to teach, and to preserve. Its presence was a bridge between centuries, a reminder of human courage and curiosity. Dr. Carter and the team carefully documented everything. They collected Samuel Pierce's journal, the captain's log, and a few artifacts that seemed to carry energy rather than value. They understood that the greatest treasure was not gold or rare goods, but knowledge, wisdom, and the preservation of human courage. Captain Monroe spoke softly, reflecting the thoughts of the team. "We have witnessed something extraordinary. This ship has returned not for fame or profit, but to guide us, to remind us of what is important. History, courage, and understanding are its true treasures." As evening fell, the researchers prepared to leave the Eleanor Grace. The ship floated silently, its mission complete, yet its presence remained a beacon of hope and guidance. Dr. Carter looked back at the deck, imagining Samuel Pierce climbing the mast, the crew moving about, and Captain Harding standing tall. She felt their courage and hope intertwine with her own, a timeless connection that spanned centuries. The research vessel began to depart, carrying the team away from the ship. They turned to watch the Eleanor Grace one last time. It remained calm, untouched, a living symbol of endurance, curiosity, and human spirit. The glow faded slowly, but the lessons it carried would remain with them forever. Dr. Carter reflected on the journey. The Eleanor Grace had returned not for wealth, not for recognition, but to share its story, to preserve courage, and to remind humanity of the responsibility that comes with understanding the unknown. It had bridged time, carrying the essence of a lost crew, their hopes, fears, and determination. It had taught them that knowledge, curiosity, and trust were treasures far greater than gold. The night fell over the calm waters. The researchers slept, dreaming of the past and the lessons they had witnessed. The ship floated silently, a timeless guardian, waiting for the day when humanity would fully appreciate its message. The Eleanor Grace had returned, untouched, alive with memory, a teacher, a guide, and a bridge across centuries. Its story would live on in the hearts and minds of those who had seen it, a reminder that courage, curiosity, and respect for the unknown are the true treasures of humanity. The next morning, as the sun rose over the horizon, the researchers prepared to leave the bay. They knew that history had gifted them something extraordinary. They carried with them the story of the Eleanor Grace, a tale of endurance, intelligence beyond understanding, and the unbroken spirit of those who had sailed 2 centuries ago. Dr. Carter looked at the calm waters, imagining the crew still moving about the deck, their presence preserved by the ship's energy. She felt a profound connection, knowing that the Eleanor Grace had chosen humanity to witness, learn, and remember. The ship had returned, and its message was clear: endure, respect the unknown, and let curiosity guide the way. As the research vessel sailed away, the Eleanor Grace remained, a timeless symbol of hope, courage, and the mysteries that lie beyond understanding. Its story, preserved across centuries, would continue to inspire, teach, and remind humanity of what truly matters. The ship had returned, and for those who had witnessed it, the lessons of the past were now part of the present, carrying forward into the future.